your mindset, your energy, the way you show up is everything. And it's really people can feel it. People pick up on your energy, especially if you're front facing for your brand. So it's really, really important that you have this episode to go back to, whether you're in a launch right now or you're planning to do a launch soon. Hey everyone, I am excited to share this part 2 of a series we're doing on launching. And today we're really going to dive into talking about your mindset during a launch. So if by some chance you didn't listen to last week's episode where we talked about my 3 tips for how to, it could just be like a slight edge change that could literally change your results in a launch, you definitely want to make sure to catch that one. But this week deserved its own episode because your mindset during a launch is so crucial. And last week we defined what I actually mean by a launch. This is really like the time period that you've decided you want to bring some new attention, some new awareness, get some new buzz going around something that you offer. So it could be something that you're literally going to open sales and close sales in a matter of a week or two, or it could actually be something that already exists or you just want to bring some fresh energy back to. It doesn't really matter, but I'm talking about like the time period when you are offering your goods and services for sale and you're intentionally bringing more awareness to it. And it's really important that we talk about the mindset during that period of time because your mindset, your energy, the way you show up is everything. And it's really people can feel it. People pick up on your energy, especially if you're front facing for your brand. So it's really, really important that you have this episode to go back to, whether you're in a launch right now or you're planning to do a launch soon, or you just want to earmark this one for the future. This is going to be the episode that you come back to. I can be like that little voice in your ear, your little virtual mentor, reminding you of a couple key things that are so crucial to have in mind around your mindset when you're in a launch. So let's talk about this from the standpoint, first of all, how do you set yourself up for success? And this is something I had to learn the hard way. I did not do this well in my first couple of launches, and it really made all the difference once I learned the lesson and started to put some of these things into place. So the first thing is you want to think about what's going to set you up for success to have as little stress as possible during that launch period. Especially for a launch where you really kind of have to be on for, it could be anywhere from 7 to 10 days to 14. Typically, our launches, for things other than like a Powerhouse Women event, our launches are typically anywhere from like 7 days to 14, maybe a little bit longer when we're filling like the mastermind. But I'm kind of thinking about more of the launches where we do a lot of planning around them. And one of the things that I realized when I did it the wrong way was the things that really added stress during that launch period. Things like, as silly as it sounds, like if my house was messy and cluttered, my environment added a lot of stress. If I wasn't planning ahead and having content batched where I didn't have to think about, gosh, okay, what do I post today? If I had a lot of that stuff created in advance. If I just even cleared my calendar and set my support system, my family up to know like, hey, this week I'm really going to need, the house quiet at these times because I have a call, or hey, could you take on cooking dinner because I'm going to be like extra focused this week. So I want you to think, how can you set your environment up for success? Do you need to get some extra childcare? Those of you who are, raising tiny humans and building a business. Do you need to ask for support from your spouse or other people around you? Are your meals planned out? Did you order your groceries? Is your laundry all done? You want to be able to focus as much attention as possible to be able to show up at your best during your actual launch period. And the way to do that is to plan ahead and schedule as much of your life to be automated and reduce stress as you possibly can. Because when we talk about your mindset during a launch, a lot of it comes down to keeping your mind as clear as possible to focus on the launch. So that's why this step is critical, because a lot of where you'll find that your mindset maybe just isn't where you want it to be is because we haven't thought of these things in advance. And like I said, I learned this the hard way. I learned that I cannot pack my calendar full to the brim. I want to leave space for me to be able to hop on and do a bonus Facebook Live or Instagram Live if it really feels like that would support the launch. So keeping my calendar clear, setting up my life to support me, allows me during that launch period to show up at my best, have great energy, and also know that I'm doing the thing that actually is most important to support the launch in bringing my best to the people that I want to serve during that time period. So set yourself up in advance. I can't say this enough. And again, maybe you can feel me on this. Maybe you've done it the other way where you haven't set yourself up for success and you felt it. So learn from that and pay attention to what do you individually need in order to make your launch time period feel the best that it can so that you can show up as your best. Okay, the second one is, this is something that I've been just voice texting and DMing with friends and people in our community who've been in launches. And this is a theme that I keep seeing. I've definitely experienced it as well. So all of these are things that I've kind of learned the hard way or learned by having experiences that I didn't love and then, putting different things into place the next time around. And the second mindset piece of a launch is realizing that a launch isn't over until it's over. So here's often what I see. Depending on the time frame of your launch, depending on how it starts, depending on even how the first 48 hours go, a lot of times what can happen is if it doesn't start off with the traction, the sales, the excitement that we were hoping for, our mind, in an effort to keep us safe, wants to kind of go to worst case scenario and say oh, this is terrible. It's over. This isn't working. I suck. Should I just pull this offer altogether? Maybe I've only had one person sign up, right? Your mind kind of goes into a tailspin. Trust me, I've been there. I have had this happen to me. And it takes everything in us sometimes to turn that mindset around and remember that the best thing we can do, our job, is to keep our energy high, our mindset positive, and continue to show up and support this launch, even when it might feel like we're launching 2 crickets. So here's what you want to remember is that it's really normal to have ebbs and flows throughout a launch. You even want to just put yourself in the buyer's shoes, that oftentimes we need to be exposed to something, to an offer or a product or a service. It used to be 7 to 10 times. Now marketing research is saying it's upwards of 20 times before we decide to make a purchasing decision. So let's say week 1 of my launch doesn't go how I wanted, and I've got a whole other week that I am planning to be launching. But I'm so discouraged, I haven't gotten the results that I want, and so I stop showing up. Or I stop showing up as much, and I'm just not bringing my great energy. That person might have been just on the edge of their buying decision. They might have been just got busy and they know they wanted to do your program, but all of a sudden they're just seeing you're not showing up as much, or they're not hearing as much about it. You're not reminding them that this offer is available to them. And so they either forget to purchase, or it just subconsciously doesn't connect with the reason they were interested in your offer in the first place. So it's really important. Again, this is especially if you are part of the offer, meaning if you're selling a course, a program, a way to work with you, it oftentimes can feel, I think, more personal, and the ebbs and flows can be tougher, especially when we are the product. But oftentimes, if you think about what it's like to be in the shoes of a buyer, they're just in the middle of a buying process and you just never know. They need to hear it 2 to 3 more times before they can feel confident making that decision. And so it's really important that you keep showing up. So it's normal to have ebbs and flows. Expect it. Expect to be flexible, adjust your plans accordingly. And I always say, this is something I teach within our community in our 6-Figure School program is, plan to show up 3 times more than you normally would. If you post once a day, plan to post 3 times a day or show up on stories 3 times more. I know that sounds like a lot, but here's why. You're going to feel different, ebbs and flows in your excitement and energy throughout the launch, but you just never know. You never know when that person has gotten to the number of exposures they needed in order to make a buying decision. And what if you listen to your own emotions and you decide not to show up that day, you might miss the opportunity to serve someone you're really meant to serve. So this kind of goes back to making sure you have a lot of this content pre-planned. That's what I talked about in the first point, so that you can show up the best. It also just kind of keeps you staying consistent even when you don't want to, because maybe you're feeling a little bit of that discouragement and you need to just continue to show up and realize that the consistency is ultimately what determines a successful launch. So just know that if you kind of go through that roller coaster of emotions, it's really great, especially to have a community who also gets what it's like to be on that roller coaster. I know something we did within our 6-Figure School Ambassador program when we were launching the program was we just said, hey, if anyone finds themselves on that roller coaster, you're on a high, you're on a low, and you just need some support. We had a group thread and we said, just text the little roller coaster emoji. Thank goodness for that emoji. It just comes in handy in so many different life scenarios. But, we just had a way to support each other through those ebbs and flows of excitement. And just know that it's very normal. But if a launch isn't starting off as strong as you want, the thing to know, and this is why you want to just get your mindset to realize that it's not over until it's over. Because a lot of times, and this happens almost every single launch I've done, sometimes 50 to 75% of the sales come in within the last 48 hours. So if I give up in the beginning of the launch because it didn't start off the way I wanted, then I might miss the opportunity to serve 50 to 75% of the people who really do want what it is that I have to offer. So realize, and again, come back to this episode when you're mid-launch and you're like, Lindsay, I just don't feel like this is going the way I wanted. That's okay. I've so been there too, but realize it's not over until it's over, and that your best results might show up in the final hours of that launch. Your job is to stay as consistent as possible and keep your mindset focused on who you want to serve. Okay, and then the third one, this is really critical. And this is something, again, I'm telling you all of the things I've had to learn the hard way, honestly. The third thing is to realize that our emotions can lie to us, but numbers never do. Okay, so let me tell you what I mean by this. Sometimes going into a launch, we set an expectation that may not be based around the current reality of where our business is at. And here's what I mean by that. We might just kind of make up the number of people we want to have join our program or the number of coaching spots we want to fill. And, I'm all for setting goals that feel a little unrealistic. So it's kind of this balance between, I love to set a goal that's going to stretch me, but then I also, when I notice my mindset starting to slip into lack or fear, I have to go back to, well, okay, how big is my audience? Is this an audience that already knows, likes, and trusts me and sees me as an authority? And are the numbers of what we're getting in terms of conversions actually on par with the size of our list? So a great example of this is, we've done launches where just knowing what we've been able to do organically before, I set goals and targets for myself that felt in line with results we'd been able to produce in the past. When in reality, we had a lot of new people in our community, on our email list, and they hadn't yet gotten to the point where they maybe had developed that know, like, and trust factor. They were still new. They were getting to know us. And so if I base my goals on just assuming that if we had this many results last time, we'll have the same number of results the next time, but I wasn't aware of the fact of where our potential customers were in the journey, I'm going to be disappointed when I don't see the conversions that I'm used to seeing, when it has nothing to do with the offer itself. It's just a matter of knowing that we need a little bit more time to develop that relationship. Or, sometimes we'll set goals based on like financially what we see that could do in the business, but we don't actually reverse engineer the plan to make sure that leading up to that launch, we have our target set on what it's going to take in terms of audience size to convert that many buyers. So something I learned from my mentor is, and one of his favorite sayings is, math is the path. So like if you want to have a certain number of participants join your program, you want to reverse engineer that and say like, okay, well, if I want to have that many participants, on average, I'm going to convert, and this is kind of just like across the board, if you just need a number to start with. Now, you might have better results than this, and if so, that's awesome. But on average, just marketing across the board, you'll on average convert 1% to 2% of an email list to an offer. Now that's assuming that you are nurturing that list, that you're serving them on the times that you're not selling. But knowing that like 1% to 2% of your email list will likely buy an offer is a really easy way to know, okay, if I want 50 people to join this next program of mine, my email list size would need to be about 5,000. Or, it could, depending on if you're converting 1% to 2%, it could be anywhere up to 5,000 people. And so if your email list is at 500 right now, don't be disappointed, or don't slip into like, gosh, this is just, maybe it's not for me, or maybe I'm not good enough. That's where my mind goes. But the truth is, if you look at numbers don't lie. And if you know that, okay, if I'm converting about 1% of my list, and actually those 5 results that I got, 5 new clients for my 500 person email list is actually right on par, then it helps your mind to say like, this is not a problem in terms of like me not adding value or me not being good enough. It's just a matter of audience size. So now, between now and my next launch, I'm going to work really, really hard on growing my audience and serving them. So when it comes to our mindset around a launch, what really inspired this episode was just finding, seeing friends of mine, and even just my own emotional journey in a launch, realizing that a lot of times what happens is we slip into fear and doubt and lack when a launch doesn't maybe start off the way that we want it to. But going back to these 3 things, like number 1, making sure you're setting yourself up and really supporting yourself around a launch, and then realizing it's not over until it's over. Being willing to reinvent and just dig in and add more value and continue showing up. But then also making sure that we're basing expectations on where our current audience size is, or what our, expectations are, really do match the work we've done to build an audience to this point. All 3 of those things can really just help you focus on the future and where your business will grow to. If right now you find that your audience size just doesn't match the results of what you want, well, what that does is it gives you the next action step. The next step to do, and the thing to continue doing, is building and nurturing these beautiful people who have trusted you and who have, either opted in to receive emails from you or text messages, or maybe they follow you on social media. And to realize that all there is to do is stay consistent. Continue to serve, continue to build. I promise you, anyone who is crushing their launches, either they've learned these lessons in another season of life, or they've put in a lot more work behind the scenes that we never saw, or it's just that they've grown and developed themselves into the person who can create the results that they currently have. But no one else has a secret that you don't. There are no secrets, there are no shortcuts. It really comes down to consistency and action and continuing to grow yourself and your mindset in the process. And you absolutely can have the business of your dreams and a launch that will totally blow your mind. But I'm really hoping that this episode will serve as a reminder for those times where maybe your expectations were a little bit higher, maybe you're learning and you're going through that learning curve and some of the mental roadblocks that inevitably come with it. But just know that I've been through all of these too. And at the end of the day, it really is a matter of consistency and action. So I want to make sure to remind you, if you listened to the episode last week, we are bringing back the Powerhouse Women Event. I am so excited about this, and we are going to be opening tickets very soon in the next couple of weeks, but I know that the tickets are going to sell out really fast. They always do anyway, but especially this year, I know there's so many of you who are really anxious to get back to meeting in person and being able to gather. And don't worry, those of you that aren't ready or aren't able to travel, we will have a live stream option for you. But for those of you especially who know you want to be first in line to get the link when we open tickets and you know you want to be in that room, you're going to have to act fast because I know these tickets this year are going to sell out like right away. So what you want to do, we're going to give our text list a 48-hour head start to get access to the tickets. So they'll be the first to get the link, the first to have access to buy the tickets. And the way that you get on that waiting list and make sure that you are the first to know the moment we open tickets is to text us the word comeback. Because get it? It's like, this is our comeback. We weren't able to have a live event. We weren't able to be together in person last year. So this year, I'm telling you, it's going to be so good. And if you've never attended a Powerhouse Women event, it's like, I'm very biased, but it is the most incredible day of inspiration, incredible speakers, amazing connections, and just really pouring in to your big ideas and dreams. So if you know you want to be there in person, the dates that you want to save are September 10th and 11th. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's beautiful, sunny, and it's just going to be the best day. I know, I'm biased, so I'm just going to keep saying that. But how you get on the list to be first to know when tickets go live is you text the word comeback to 602-536-7829. And the moment that we open tickets, you will be the first to know. You will get a 48-hour head start. The only way that you find out ahead of this is like if you're in the Girl Gang membership, because those are like our real ride or dies. So they'll get a little bit of an extra head start. But if you're not a Girl Gang member, you want to be sure to get on the text list so you know the moment we open tickets. So again, I'll give you that number. It's just 602-536-7829. Text me the word comeback, and I cannot wait to meet you like in the flesh, in real life. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing in September. And I hope you'll be there. I hope you'll join us because it really is the place where if you love this podcast, if you love the community, it comes alive when you get in a room with like-minded women who are all there to support each other and really just remember that we are not meant to do any of this, business or life, alone. So I hope I'll see you there.